Stephanie now.
That's true.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'd like to just
Got it.
thank you, Leslie, for being on this call with us. Can you, I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to introduce Leslie Weinstein, president of Turtles Fly 2. He's our environmental hero for this quarter, this time. And we've been talking to him for a while. He does some phenomenal work with his nonprofit. So Leslie, can you introduce yourself to us, please?
Yes, my name's Leslie Weinstein, president of Turtles Fly 2, and I've been doing this for many, many years now. Actually, it started when I was the chairman at the University of Florida Archie Carr Centers for Sea Turtle Research. Uh, and I got that position. They decided that I'll put it this way, they chose me. Um, I ended up donating property, beach property that I had. It was in the family for many, many years. And on this property, the unique thing about it, I used to walk the beaches at night when the turtles would lay their eggs, and I would get all the eggs up in what they call guinea sacks, croaker bags, potato bags, another word for them, or buckets. And I would take them to the property and I'd dig a hole, a big long trench, because it depended on how many eggs I got for the night. Sometimes it was 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 eggs
Wow.
during the course of the night. And I was busy doing these things. And the reason I did it is another thing. Back then, it was legal for people to uh, take turtles and the sea turtle eggs, and they would dig them up and sell them to the bakeries and the bars. And don't ask me how, why I did it, but I just didn't like that. It was just one of those things. I decided it wasn't, uh, something I enjoyed. And if you've ever tasted a sea turtle egg, they are just as sandy and gritty as could be. Matter of fact, it takes a bottle of Tabasco sauce just to down one. So that's to give you an idea how how very palatable those things are, or lack thereof, rather. Not a gourmet treat whatsoever, and I don't see how people consider them a gourmet treat. And all the countries still to this day do dig them up, unfortunately. So I did that, and so I during the summers I actually hatched out in excess of 20,000 eggs just during the summer when I do this. And I
Wow.
was a young teenager at the time. So years down the road, I moved to Boise, Idaho, but years down the road, I kept reading these reports of all the nesting that was going on in the vicinity of the property. And anybody in and around the world knows exactly where this property is. It's that unique. I own the property adjacent to Marineland of Florida, which is south of St. Augustine and north of Daytona Beach. And but it sits, the property is actually on both sides of the road. On the Atlantic side, it's the beach there. And there's a road, an old road, A1A, that cuts through the property. And on the west side of the road, it's the Intercoastal Waterway. And out past there is an environmental uh, swamp area, that's they've been enhancing. So I decided to donate the property, uh,
Wow.
and I
That's great.
and I did. So you can imagine the expense, the value of beach property, but money is not everything to me. And I did this for my, and I do this for everybody's kids and grandkids. Nowadays, one of the biggest problems that I've seen is the lack of conservation out there, and it truly is. People are talking about it, but still, it's just not there the way it should be. Uh, so I did this, and in the donation, this is where it all comes down to Turtle Slide 2. In the donation, Center.
Okay.
Uh,
Leslie, when you started saying in the donation, you froze up. So
I'm sorry, what?
when you said in the donation, you started talking. If you can start from there because you froze up for a minute.
Oh, okay. You froze up or I froze up?
I think we all froze up.
Oh, it was supposed to have been taken care of. But okay, so with the donation, I think it froze again, right?
No, I think you're good.
Oh, okay. Stephanie's on now.
I am on. Yep.
Okay, let's start again.
All right.
Okay, Stephanie, you can get off if you want.
With the donation, what I did, I specifically stated that Terry Norton had the ability to utilize the property for his education or research, whatever he needed.
Leslie, excuse me, who's Terry Norton?
Well, that's what I was going to explain. Terry
Oh, sorry.
Norton is Terry Norton is with the Georgia Sea Turtle Center on Jekyll Island, and Terry is the one who founded the Sea Turtle Center there. He is a veterinarian and a researcher, but Terry and I got to know each other pretty well. But in that donation, besides naming Terry to utilize the property, I also stated that aviation had to be a part of it. Had no clue or idea how that was going to happen. And when it was donated, it was the year 2010. In 2014, and I'd been on Terry the whole time since then, saying, Terry, you got to help me. We got to do something here. So finally, it was around June of 2014. Terry calls me, says, Leslie, I got it. So we have a green sea turtle that could not be released to the wild. And there was an aquarium up in Iowa that could take this turtle. So we got together and planned it all out. It took all of a day, actually, for me to put the call out to the aviation community, of which I play a big part in. And we got this turtle moved. Now, the first people who called me was the state of Georgia asking if they could be involved. And I said, yeah, sure. They got a hold of Angel Flight. Angel Flight, for those who don't know, their main objective is to take people to hospitals or their doctor's appointments, and they do not charge. So the pilots fly people. It's a great organization. So we got this taken care of, and it just one thing led to another. But there was 3 pilots who flew the mission, and I say 3 because what we had was a relay to get them there. You know, it's 1,000 miles away. I'm just saying 1,000, but you know, long distance. So it was done. Turtle arrived very safe and ready to get into the waters there at their aquarium. And he was taken care of for many, many years.
Hey, Leslie, can I interrupt you for a minute? Can you tell me why aviation was important to you, though?
Yeah. I grew up in aviation.
Okay. I just need to know.
And yeah, I grew up in aviation is the reason it's so important. Without aviation, you know, things of this nature would not happen. But I'll get more into that too with what I'm going to talk about when I started Turtles Fly 2 in November. So we flew the turtle. So then Terry calls me up in November of 2014 and says, Leslie, he says, I've got 50 cold stunned Kemps that need to come down to me for rehabilitation. So Terry explained to me what the problem was up in Cape Cod, which I was not aware. And 2014 happened to be the largest cold stun event in the history of Cape Cod. There was over 1,200 turtles that ended up being cold stunned. And we ended up, a lot of them perished, don't get me wrong, but we ended up flying more than 700 of them. And I kind of joke around anymore with Terry, letting them know that, wait a minute, I only signed up for 50 and now it's been all these years later, it's been thousands of turtles we've saved and hundreds of flights. And that's how Turtles Fly 2 started. But the most important thing about Turtles Fly 2, and I do tell this to everybody, I do this for my grandkids and your grandkids, for everyone's. I want them to have what I had growing up. And that is just not there anymore. So it's very important on the Kemps, because the Kemps are headed towards extinction. Every turtle to me is extremely important to fly to the hospitals and, for recovery, and return to the oceans. That's the objective, is to rehabilitate them and return them to the oceans, to the wild. So that's what I started, and the most important thing with Turtles Fly 2. Since then, Turtles Fly 2 has evolved into a very positive organization where we're involved with all the government agencies that need to be. Matter of fact, they're the ones who have supported us. They do not support us with funding. They support us with the permitting that we need to handle all these endangered species. So we work with mainly the Kemps on the Kemp sea turtles, but we do them all. The only ones we don't really have a part with are the leatherbacks, because the leatherbacks, unfortunately, are a type of a turtle. They don't have a hard shell. And what they do when they try to rehabilitate them, they run into the sides of the walls and they end up killing themselves. They're just working on ways to take care of them. And yes, we have agreed to start, transporting some of these turtles as well, and working out parameters.
So do the leatherbacks have the same issues as the Kemps in terms of the cold weather and getting?
That's kind of interesting. No, they don't. The leatherbacks can take more cold weather.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting there. But the Kemps, yeah, and let's talk about the Kemps. The Kemps, where they're hatched, where they're raised primarily, are down in Mexico and Rancho Nuevo, just south of the Texas border there. And it was in 1947 that they discovered all this mass arabata of the Kemps coming to lay their eggs. The Kemps is the only turtle that actually lays its eggs during the daylight hours and not at night like the rest of the variety, the species, like your greens or loggerheads. But the Kemps, they lay their eggs during the day. Another thing that's paramount anymore is, and I don't want to call it global warming, but there's issues with climate change. And the climate change, with the way the axis of the earth is tilting anymore and causing warmer weather in areas that has been unknown to us, what it does, it causes an effect on the eggs, where now all of a sudden with hotter temperatures, we have more females, and we did with cooler temperatures down around, I want to say 70 degrees Celsius type weather. Matter of fact, I can give you those exact numbers.
I guess he must have done some research to figure that one out, right?
I'm sorry, what's that?
I guess he must have done some research to figure out that the temperatures have an impact.
Oh, yeah, temperatures have a big impact.
Oh, okay.
A big impact. So what's happening, lately we're having more females because of the hotter sands than we do the males. And, it'd be nice to have a happy medium where we had both, make both sexes evolve, but that's not the case. I think I lost you.
Okay, oh, no, we're here. But let me ask you another question. No, that's really great. So, you told us the connection between turtles and flying and the different kinds of turtles you're working with. So which organizations are you guys working with, out of Florida or up in New Hampshire?
Yeah, we were. For some odd reason, I did lose you. I can't see you here.
Okay. I can see.
It, oh, okay.
Did you, I can ask you the question again. I think we got,
Yeah, please do it.
okay. Yeah, I think you're frozen there for a second. Let's see if we see you move before we start the question again.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Oh, you're physically
Okay.
you're frozen on the screen, but I can hear you.
Oh, because
Let
I
me
can,
let me see
yeah.
if you move. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Alrighty.
I don't know what's going here on my end, though.
Can you hear me, Leslie?
I can barely hear you, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Is it
Yeah,
possible for me to get back to you? Because I'm having difficulties
I
on
can hear
here.
you. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see if I can. Yep.
Okay. So my question was, like, sounds like you guys are really busy, and I do want to know a little bit about your operations and how many people you have working and planes, but also what organizations you're working with. Stephanie, can you hear me?
All right, now I can hear you,
Okay.
but you're frozen. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, your screen is frozen, and I don't know if my screen's frozen. There you are, finally.
Okay.
All right. So where did we leave off? Where do you want
Okay,
to
so
start?
I was asking you about, it sounds like your operations is going fabulous, and I just wanted to hear more, a little bit as we go through the interview about your operations, how many people you have working or planes. But I wanted to find out what organizations you're working with to support you guys.
Okay. The organizations that support us is actually all of them. And I say all of them, your aquariums, the various aquariums, hospitals out there that we take the turtles to. The only government agencies that support us are U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and NOAA Fisheries. None of these agencies or organizations support us with funding, though. All this is done through the nonprofit Turtles Fly Too.
Okay.
Something we depend on, rely on for donations. But there's no one within Turtles Fly Too that is paid a salary. Fundings are usually used for, like our website and all the costs associated, a database. We have, oh gosh, our database of pilots is right up there at 500 now. So and when you're talking about the pilots and the aircraft, when a mission comes in, what I do is match up the type of aircraft I need and where the turtles are going to be going and how many.
So Leslie, do the pilots bring their own plane? Is that how it works, or do you guys?
They bring their own aircraft.
Okay.
Yep, they have their own aircraft.
And you supply the funding for the fuel, or they may be donated?
Well, that's something that we're working on. With the FAA, it's illegal for us to pay them because they are not commercial pilots, or is the aircraft commercial aircraft. These are private, what they call general aviation aircraft, Part 91. But this is something that we are working on. Matter of fact, we've actually got two attorneys who called me up this past fall and said, Leslie, is the government paying you anything? And I says, no. And they says, we need to work on that. And I says, how are you going to do that? Well, we're going to work on special legislation. Okay, go for it, because we certainly need it.
So I'm kind of digressing a little bit from my questions, but you're just making me think of some other things. I'm just curious. I'm looking at the back behind you and I see the plane. How many turtles fit in the plane? Like, what's the most that you guys have flown at one time? I'm just curious.
You're not coming in.
Oh, okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can.
Oh, I was asking you, I was looking at the plane behind you. You got the, the wrap behind you. And I was curious, how many turtles fit in the plane? I mean, how many have you guys have fit in there?
That particular one, we can put about 50 in. What we do, we pack them in banana boxes. Usually one, sometimes.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Sylvia, are you
Okay.
there?
Okay, we lost you when you were talking about packing them in banana boxes. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now.
Okay, no, I lost you where you're talking about packing them in banana boxes.
Yeah, we generally pack them in banana boxes on the Kemps. Larger turtles, we have different crates we use, but for the Kemps, the size of them, and the size is like, imagine a dinner plate. That's the size of the Kemps. They're not that big, they're small. These are what we call juvenile turtles. So we pack them anywhere from 1 to 2 to a banana box. It weighs less than 10 pounds, and away they go. We take them to various facilities. Matter of fact, the longest distance facility I just took some to was part of the Cayman, what I call the Cayman 10 bunch. And that was all the way from Orlando to Arizona. But from the Cape Cod area, we take them all the way down to Texas. We do Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, there at Terry's place at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center, all the way down to the Keys, Marathon, the Turtle Hospital down there. All the hospitals that we work with in Florida and in Mississippi has been taking a number of them for us. And then down in Texas, we take out to Texas, a number of facilities in Texas. So, you're talking quite a distance, and the type of aircraft I need for these is they've got long range, and can fly there within the day, put it that way. Generally, it takes just to go from Cape Cod down to Florida with a fast plane, it'll take 5 hours. So we just get it done. Then you have all your weather constraints you got to work with, headwinds and some serious weather during the winter months that we always are working with. Just to give you an idea, 300-mile-an-hour aircraft with headwinds might cut them down to 200 miles an hour. So we have to deal with all that.
Can I ask? Let me ask you another question. Can you tell me about one of the maybe a situation or one of your favorite animal stories that you guys have saved?
Well, that's interesting. We have actually, when it comes to endangered, and we work with endangered marine species. So with endangered marine species, we've worked with whales. And by that, what we do is we take the rescue teams to where they're needed with all their gear, and they've got 1,000 pounds of gear. They have these blow-up boats, Zodiacs, with their motors. And then they've got their long poles to try to disentangle the whales. So we do that. We take care of endangered seals, the fur seals. We did, matter of fact, the one that really comes to mind that I really enjoyed working with, and we had to get a good understanding of them. Prior to us flying sea otters. Fish and Wildlife had 2 that died in transit. So I had to figure out a way to make it work, and we did. We flew this one this otter pup. He could not be released. So it was an endangered sea otter, southern sea otter, that could not be released. And he went from down in California up to the Oregon Aquarium. We did that. Fish and Wildlife says, well, we had to do it within 8 hours. And I said, not going to happen. I had them there in 2 hours.
Wow.
So, and then unbeknownst to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, I made changes to their plans. Another thing they didn't like, I told the pilots to turn him loose once he's on the aircraft, when you're in the air, and it was the most successful flight of all.
Oops, I think we just lost you. Hello, Leslie?
We took every precaution. This was our first medevac unit that flew this sea otter. But that was the challenging one, and the one I really enjoyed, because I think I sent you a video of him. So
no, that's great. And so so you guys have been just really, really busy. I can see that. And can you just tell me a little bit about your operations? Like, you have somebody, you got a program manager, and you guys coordinate calls that come in. I'm
laughing at you. I'm laughing at you. I'm looking at it too. Program manager. No, we got rid of the one executive director because we found out it wasn't working out, put it that way. We don't have anybody who is hired right now. It would be nice to have an assistant just to handle paperwork, but everybody knows with me, the rescues come first. And the funny part about it is, just like with all the PR work, a number of the organizations that I worked with prior to our executive director leaving.
Uh-oh, I think we lost you.
Are you on now?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay. We don't have, I'm the one that handles everything, along with some assistance from all of our volunteers. When it comes to the funding, we just don't have anybody that we spend money on, which we need to, we definitely need an assistant just to handle paperwork and stuff. But as far as getting everything else, but a lot of the PR work is kind of interesting, is done by some of the organizations that are partners, and they've taken it upon themselves, because they all know how I am. The rescues come first. And, to me, the PR on the medias, just to give you an idea, Sir David Attenborough, I didn't talk to him. I let our pilots talk with him, and they had, I think it's called Planet some or other. But that's how involved I am with the PR. So we are on that movie that the BBC made with David Attenborough. We've got another media release from CBS that'll be coming out before long on Good Morning America. That I refuse to talk to him. I let all our pilots talk to him, but that's just how I am.
Hey, Leslie, are you the only group doing this in the US right now, or
are we the only ones?
Yeah.
the only organization that does this.
Mm.
I wish we weren't,
Oh, really?
because we are that busy.
Huh.
You know, manatees of all things. Fish and Wildlife sent me an emergency letter here back in July. They do not have the resources or the know-how to move a manatee from Texas back to Florida. We took care of that, and our partner there was SeaWorld Orlando
I
and
was going to
SeaWorld
ask you
Texas.
if those organizations have been helping. Okay.
Yeah, there are the organizations we work with are, I can't say enough thanks to all of them, which is extremely, well, it's paramount, period. When it comes on the West, here's the interesting thing. On the West Coast, when we have the cold stuns on the West Coast, our territory, call it territory, but our where we handle on the West Coast for U.S. Fish and Wildlife is from Alaska all the way down to Mexico for the cold stun turtles. And you would think, turtles in Alaska? Well, I used to say that. There actually ends up being turtles in Alaska. We haven't transported any yet, but we are ready for it. We've got things set up there. Canada, we've taken turtles out of Canada. Matter of fact, one Bernie Standards, they call them, we transported at the beginning of COVID, and it was a day when Canada shut down the crossings due to COVID, and it's the day where they closed the Vancouver Aquarium. But that was our turtle from there that went down to San Diego.
Huh.
And that was an interesting one. And there was a tracker on there when San Diego SeaWorld released them, so it was kind of interesting. So yes, that's the West Coast. We're working with another aquarium down there to also take care of whatever San Diego can't. And there are times when these organizations can't take care of it all. So we're working to have another aquarium online, and all this has to go through all the permitting process. A lot of permits involved.
How many turtles do you think you guys have saved up to this point? Or moved?
Oh, that's a funny question.
Sorry, I should have asked you that.
Somebody asked me that. No, matter of fact,
I'm just making up questions as we're going.
Yeah,
I just was wondering.
No, it is, and it's time consuming to go through all our files and run the numbers and everything. And Kate Sampson with NOAA is the one that takes care of all that. So she was.
Uh-oh, we lost you. Just a second.
We know that we've done hundreds of flights and we've done thousands of turtles. And that's exactly what we're going to start telling people anymore. If they want to know exact numbers, fine. Start paying us a little something for the upkeep of these numbers.
I was just curious.
when it gets to be thousands, literally thousands and hundreds of flights, what's the difference in heaven? What do the numbers really mean? We're into the thousands.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we do.
Oh, I just want to know how many turtle people you saved. That's all.
Yeah, well, there you go. You know now it's into the thousands, and that's not including what I did as a teenager. I mean,
That's
so
great.
me,
That's super.
yeah. So what? 50,000. I mean, I'm sorry. That number doesn't matter to me like it does to some of these other people. I know what's going on out there. And every year, and I harp on NOAA about this every year, and the rest of our partners, I see these numbers. The writing is on the wall. We have so many of the Cape Cod juvenile turtles that succumb, and we can't keep having that with the so few turtles that are being hatched and going out to the oceans, to the wild, because these turtles, for some odd reason, they're being caught up in the Gulf Stream, and they're ending up in, well, the Gulf Stream actually circumvents over to Europe and back around. And I'll give you a good example here of that in just a minute. But, what happens up in Cape Cod, you've got the arm up there and they get caught in that arm when they're trying to, and we say when they're trying to go south for the winter, fly south for the winter, go to Arizona or wherever they want to go. But, you know, we've got a turtle now, a Kemp's, the juvenile, that we're going to be bringing back to the Gulf states and to Texas to release. This turtle is in Wales, just over there in the UK. So they're taking care of them right now, but we're waiting on the permits to come forward. And there's a lot of work to that. So that's one of the things that we work on as well.
Well, that's great. So let me ask you, so, people who are hearing your interview, they're like inspired to help you. So what kind of support do you want from people, and how can people get involved in helping Turtles Fly too?
I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. Sign up on our website, volunteer. So that way you can get, we're trying to get back. We used to do newsletters, and we want to get an assistant so we can do some of the updates and everything. We, even on our Facebook page, we are so behind on our transports. We're way behind. It's just like in 1 week alone, I had over 5 transports, 5 missions of over, in that one alone, there was over 100 turtles that we rescued. Some of the flights have as few as 5, turtles that were taken to facilities, and some of them over 100. So, it just depends. But we take care of all of them and where they need to go. And one of the biggest problems nowadays are the facilities. COVID, we figured out COVID. We were very successful during COVID to take the turtles to where they were needed, with the facilities being the few people with their staff that could handle them. So we were very successful in working through COVID. We've come to a different problem now, where with the way the economy is and everything, we have fewer staff now than we had during COVID, and the expenses are huge as compared to what it was during COVID. So those are the things that we're still working through right now. And as a result of it, the facilities that have taken, let's just say 20 or 30 or 50, can now only take 5 or 10 at a time. So we're doing this, I call it a mail run, or a milk run, but we're dropping a few here, a few over here, and another few over here. And I think you saw that in that in Brave Wilderness film.
Mm-hmm.
I think on that particular flight there was 100 or 105.
Yeah.
But we went down to Florida on the West Coast, and then we went to Mississippi and Louisiana, by the way. So on that particular flight. So
just another question. So, just in summary, it's just been great to talk with you. Do you have anything that you would like to share with us, or, any thoughts last thoughts you'd like to leave?
Well, if you want to be involved with us, get involved. I don't tell people how they need to be involved. That's why we're so successful, because people make Turtles Fly to their own, and that's the most important thing. As president of the organization, I don't dictate to anybody. If you want to help out, help out. We've got one of our pilot's wives, Sherry, incredible person, but she calls me up one day and she says, Leslie, she says, I make these crocheted turtles, and do you mind if I donate the funds to Turtles Fly too? Sherry, why do I mind? Well, I'll tell you what those turtles did when she started that actually paid for our software for the web. And we appreciate Sherry doing this. It's those are the types of things people are doing. There's volunteers that I have that we have, and I shouldn't say I, but there's volunteers that we have who, when I know who it is, I have helped them getting into some of the veterinary colleges or wherever their interests are. I'll write letters. And I'm proud of the fact that the universities are listening to me. And they are supporting our decisions with volunteers. So, and that's one of the things that's important to us is like I told you earlier, with I want my grandkids and your grandkids to have everything that I had, and this is the only way. What can people do? Start picking up your garbage. Start doing. We don't need legislation to tell us to dictate to us to pick up garbage. People should be doing this, and just taking care of the planet.
Well, Leslie, I really thank you very much for your time today, and I'm sorry about the issues we've had.
Well, if you need any more, just let me know. There is one thing I'm going to leave you with.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I want to talk to you about the Cayman 10.
The who?
The Cayman 10.
Okay.
No, it's not on there.
Well,
Well,
I'm just taking notes. Go ahead.
oh, okay. The Cayman 10. When I was there with the University of Florida, I this is when I first found out about him. It was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. And Noah, who was also on the board there with me, said, Leslie says, what would it take for you to bring the turtles in? I said, what do you mean what would it take? Well, how much would it cost? I said, nothing. And so there's a lot of work we were doing prior. And so then I learned about the Cayman 10, and what this was back in the 80s, the Kemp's Ridleys were that close to extinction that Mexico and the U.S. worked with the Cayman government to take the eggs and take them down there and try to, come up with a breeding facility for the Kemps. And it didn't work out that well, and so they decided with what was left over that the turtles that they had ended up raising need to come back to the U.S. Well, I'm the one that went in and said, okay, I'll bring them back. It took basically 10 years to get that done for the permits and everything. Oh. So that was accomplished back in July of this April, July. I can get you the dates, but we got that accomplished, and they were flown into Orlando, and they had to go under quarantine. So there was 10 of them that we brought in, and SeaWorld Orlando is the one that did the quarantine. And I've been gradually taking the turtles out to the facilities, the aquariums that will be housing these turtles for the rest of their lives. And 2 of them went out to Arizona. Let's see, four of them went to Texas, one to Mississippi, and I've got one I'm taking up to New York here before long, and then that'll be it. Wow. And then Orlando's keeping 1 or 2, but that's the Cayman 10 group.
That's great.
But this is what I do for U.S. Fish and Wildlife when they ask me to do something. Just the same thing with the manatee.
Well, I congratulate you for all the hard work that you've done, and thank you especially for what you're doing, because as you said, our children and grandchildren, may not have the opportunity to see these types of turtles without this kind of work. So
and thank you, Sylvia. And we do have an education program in the lower grades. Matter of fact, lower grades all the way to the universities. It's kind of interesting what we do with everybody, and we have, we're dealing with endangered species. You have to understand endangered species. You are not allowed to touch them, dead or alive. And we bring that opportunity into our kids, or into the schools. We have a number of taxidermied turtles, sea turtles, that died during the cold stun, and I wanted enough that we could send around to the schools, and we do that all over the place, all over the U.S. We talk to kids, and with this COVID, Zoom is one of the great things about it. So we send in the sea turtles and a package with a program, and then I also have enough of the government agencies that'll also get on board for these school kids, and chat with them, and let them know, hey, I'm with U.S. Fish and Wildlife, or NOAA, and I'm here to give you some insight of what we all do as a partner, and have the importance of it. But just the opportunity to be able to touch, even though it's not a live one, to be able to touch a taxidermied turtle and to actually see it. And this is what it looks like, up close and personal.
Well, we might have to touch base with you on the educational part, especially with green kids. Maybe we can do something there. We reach out to a lot of different schools, and I think people getting the opportunity, or children getting the opportunity to learn about the turtles can make a difference also in our future. So
well, it does. And I don't know if I sent you the one for Moscow High yet, but we had a program at Washington State University at the veterinarian college where I had a gentleman by the name of Brian Stacy from NOAA, who's the head veterinarian from NOAA, and he's down in Florida. I had him come out to give a lecture on the sea turtles, and what he did, he provided a necropsy, where they dissect the turtles and looking at the species, the internal organs. But we had that going with the Washington State University, and then Moscow. I had them high school. I had them come over for the program as well, so they were part of the program. And for a day, Brian sat with them and talked to them about the sea turtles, and they dissected some of them. And but I was able to get these, and you have to understand, I was able to get these turtles where the universities couldn't get them. And I think we had something like 30, 40 turtles that that were dead from the cold stuns, that kids, and I say kids, the high schoolers and the college students could actually touch and see the internal organs and everything. So it's real important. And it just makes a big difference. That, everybody will say the difference I made is astronomical. And then I'll leave you with this one thing, and this is a funny one.
okay.
So I get a call from this Podunk University, and I have to say it this way. They have been put off for in excess of 5 years to finish up their research on a project. They called me and told me what it was. I made a phone call, and they were back on board within 5 minutes.
Huh.
That Podunk School University was Yale.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What research were they missing? They just needed to do a
They
final.
needed some Kemp's turtles.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, and I got them the dead ones, and I got them. I ended up getting it all taken care of for them. It
Well,
was done within 5 minutes, though.
thank you, Leslie, very much for all you do. We really appreciate it. And I look forward to continuing working with you. And we've been talking about a book, so we'll see if we can, what story we want to put forward.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Sylvia. And if
care.
you need to redo this, just let me know.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened with the sound and all that, but no, it's proud of everything that we've done. But it's simply amazing. But yeah, I couldn't be more proud of all our pilots, because they make Turtles Fly 2 their own.
Thank you so much.
Oh, no, I will tell you a funny one. You know that Canadian turtle I was talking about? Well, Luke Hansen, he's over in Washington State. I got him to volunteer. And so Luke goes over there. The aircraft lands in Seattle area. So I had Luke over there and his mom. And what they needed help was putting them on this different aircraft. So they had to take the turtle out of the crate and put the crate on the aircraft first, turn it and jostle it around and put it on. So Luke's got the turtle over his head. He is the only one who I know or anybody knows who has been anointed by a sea turtle. He pooped all over him.
Oh, really? That's funny.
So that is the funniest thing. That really is the funniest one I know. And Luke happened to be going to he hadn't decided yet, but he's going to one of the veterinarian colleges where I wrote letters off to, but he has been accepted by a number. And that's one of the things I put in my letter to the universities.
Oh, no, poor Luke.
They will never have anybody like Luke.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Leslie.
Yes, ma'am. Bye now.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
have anything more to say, but there you go. You heard it all.
All right. Goodbye.